We are in a completely different generation now. What worked then, I don't think works now at all. And it does need to be revamped. And I think as an industry, if we don't revamp magic, it will get lost as an art form. So I think that is really, really important that we do try and modernize it. We try and invent it. You know, of course, you have the traditional illusions, which will be there and forever, and they'll still be here in centuries. But it's how we do them and how we present them that I think is really important.
Josephine Lee, welcome to Behind the Secrets.
Hi, hello, good morning, well, good afternoon for you.
So amazing to actually finally connect with you because we've tried this a couple of times. So thank you, internet gods. It is working right now. An honor and a joy to be here with the best female illusionist in the world. How does that title feel to have, to carry, to just, to live?
It's quite funny because I've been asked that question before, and then afterwards I've gone away and thought about it, and I've thought, well, there's not that many of us, so it's actually not really a hard title to hold. But it makes me feel like the hard work over the past few years, well, the past decade, has actually paid off, which is a really, really nice feeling. So for that reason, I really enjoy holding the title.
Yeah, amazing. Do you know, I look at illusions and I'm like, oh, that is so, like, they're huge, they're hard. I have no idea how you even do it. Like, what do you love the most about illusions?
I think because I come from a dancing background and I've always been very physical on stage. So for me, it was a very easy transition from going from performing dancing to going into illusions. And for me, they're not that difficult. And this is a really interesting thing. If you gave me a deck of cards and asked me to do a sleight of hand routine, I'd probably have a breakdown. So it's interesting, isn't it? What's hard for one person might be really easy for someone else, and we've all got completely different skills. So I absolutely love illusions because for me it's just an extension of my dancing background of being physical and moving. So to me it just feels natural.
Yeah, amazing. What do you find is easy about them? Without giving anything away?
The music side of things and the big grand scale performance and the whole ta-da for me comes quite naturally. Sometimes I find I actually have to tone it down so I don't come across as, you know, like the 1980s Vegas kind of ta-da. I'm like, we're in 2025 now, so we need to like tone things down.
No. Hey, bring it back. We've lost a lot of, you know, the old school stuff that I think would be quite refreshing for.
We have. But I mean, we are in a completely different generation now. You know, what worked then, I don't think works now at all. And it does need to be revamped. And I think as an industry, if we don't revamp magic, it will get lost as an art form. So I think that is really, really important that we do try and modernize it. We try and invent it. You know, of course, you have the traditional illusions, which will be there and forever, and they'll still be here in centuries. But it's how we do them and how we present them that I think is really important.
That's so cool. So when you have that lens of let's modernize this, what's your creative process like?
First thing for me is music, always music. I think I visualize things very differently to how a traditional magician would. I don't necessarily look at the trick. I first see the set and I see this is what the graphics are going to look like. This is what the music's going to be. This is what the costume's going to be. And I try and modernize that as much as I possibly can, so that once we do stick in a sneaky little sawing in half from 100 years ago, it's like they don't quite notice it's from 100 years ago anymore.
Oh my God, that is actually hilarious. You're like, if there's enough L&D lights that were made in 2025,
Exactly.
We're good.
You won't notice that.
So in your world then, what's a beautiful visual modern look to you?
Nowadays, there's so much you see on TikTok and Instagram. Everything's just so modern visually with content. And I think adding content into theatres nowadays is absolutely essential. I love a traditional theatre. I've been really lucky because the past few years I've had quite a few gigs on celebrity cruises. And their latest ships have these absolutely insane LED screens. They wrap around the whole of the venue. And at
Yeah, wow.
first, it was an absolute nightmare because I just thought, how on earth can you perform illusions on a stage that's in the round? You have no backdrop, you don't have wings, nothing. But it's been an absolute godsend because it's actually made me reinvent the entire show. And having those screens at the back to try and make things so modern has been absolutely brilliant. And now I don't think I'd ever want to go back.
Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome. How many suitcases do you travel with? Like,
The
wait, let me guess.
logistics,
Eight? 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 At least eight, minimum.
the logistics of having an illusion show is actually horrendous. And I think if someone had said to me 10 years ago, do you realize what this is going to entail? I don't think I would have had the stomach to actually continue with this journey. It's been challenging, especially now, as you know, after COVID, and then the world's gone upside down, and you know, money's not flying out of everyone's pockets at the moment. It's become really challenging to try and sell an illusion show unless you know you're going on a massive tour, because you give them the fee and then you say, oh, by the way, it's also going to cost you about £6,000 to send all my illusions there. And oh yeah, there's
Yeah.
also the paperwork, which is also going to cost you another couple of grand. So it's, you know, for the one-off gigs, it's really, really tricky. With an illusion show, you either need a residency, you need a cruise ship that's going to let you put those illusions on there. Luckily, the illusions stay on here and we just fly on and off, which is fabulous. So we've built that relationship with the company, which is incredible. But yeah, if someone had told me years ago that you're going to have to get a warehouse and you're going to have to pay
Oh,
thousands for all these props, then you're going to have to convince people to pay for the transport, I'd be like, oh, no, I don't think I
wow.
can do
So
it.
that's crazy. So in that case, you said already, sleight of hand, you wouldn't go anywhere near. What if you weren't doing illusions? What other part of magic do you think you'd be like? Oh, I kind of like that.
Well, at the moment, interestingly, I've got about an hour and a half show and well to 2 hours, and only 15 minutes of that is illusions.
Oh,
So
wow.
even though I'm an illusionist, you can't have a full 2 hour show with just illusions. I also don't think that you can fully connect with an audience just through illusions. I think it's very, very challenging. Illusions are grand and they're very visual and they're very powerful, and it's a great visual to look at. But to actually connect on a deeper level with an audience, you have to talk. You have to take them to a different place. You can't just stick swords in boxes for 2 hours. So, yeah.
That'd be a little bit hard on the elbow and the wrist.
Yeah, true.
What was your first taste in magic? What hooked you?
I started as a dancer and I got a job working for Hans Klock back in 2000 and I'm not even going to tell you because it's starting to make me feel really old.
It's okay. I think we just had a internet. The internet just went. Brrr I
Exactly. We just
couldn't quite hear
glitched.
the
We
you.
very,
Yeah.
very quickly glitched. And we walked into rehearsal and I'd never really known much about magic at all. And for me, magic was just, you know, sleight of hand and small magic. And that's kind of, you know, walk around magic. That's how I viewed magic at the time. And then we walked into rehearsal and they had a press event for the release of the show. And they performed origami. And I was absolutely blown away just to see magic done with a human body, like an actual human disappeared. And after that, it was just I just couldn't believe that that was even possible. And that was the first time that I ever really experienced that moment. I think that audiences, we try to give audiences nowadays that moment of wow, like what the hell? So
That's awesome.
that for me was my first experience that really, really blew me away.
And do you need to look after your body differently now to when you were dancing? Are you moving
I
it in different ways, or is there any more pressure or tension?
Well, I didn't think I had to. Recently, I basically back in what year was it? It was just after COVID, 2021. I got a job in Wonderville. I don't know if you heard about the magic show that we were opening in the Harry Potter Theatre in West End. And it was, so we'd had COVID. I hadn't worked for about 2 years like the rest of us. Got this job and I was like, incredible. Like the first job back is on West End. I mean, I couldn't have got any luckier, and with an amazing cast of people and producers. And the night before press night, I jumped off the sub-trunk illusion and snapped my ACL in my knee. So
Wait, whoa. In like while you're performing?
yeah, during the performance, I jumped off the prop and my knee just snapped in half. And I
And in that
think
moment, wait, before you go on, in that moment, are you going, oh my God, that's painful? Or are you trying to stay in character so the audience doesn't know what happened?
I knew something really bad had happened. When you snap your ACL, you hear a pop, you actually physically hear it snap, and it just shoots through your whole body. So I immediately knew. I was like, something very bad's happened here. And I tried to stay in character and I tried to stand up, but when you snap your ACL, it's just like the leg just goes. So you physically can't, you just can't stand up. And one of the dancers, his name's Mervyn, he's a really good friend of mine. He's an absolute sweetheart. He immediately knew that something wasn't right. So he like scooped me up under his shoulder or over his shoulder and kind of like wobbled me to the next prop. And the next prop was the bow staff. And he just like lifted me up and just put me in there. And then I somehow managed to finish the show. I missed 2 days and I hadn't realized at the time what I'd actually done. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know that I'd actually snapped the ACL. So I had 2 days off. I iced it. I taped it up with gaffer tape. And then I
Gaffer
went
tape?
back. Yeah. I was
Oh my
like,
God, that
I'm
is
not
wait.
missing this opportunity.
I have never, that is the most theatre thing that you could ever do. Like to use gaffer tape on a physical injury. That is like I wish there was a prize for that. That is just gold. What colour was the gaffer tape? Important.
It was black,
Pink?
of course. Black
Okay.
with the black costume. But yeah, so we went back and we had 6 weeks left and I finished the entire 6 weeks of the show. And to this day, I actually have no idea how I did it. But I think because I wasn't aware of what I'd actually done, my brain was just like, you'll get through this. We'll figure it out. You're not missing the opportunity. So then got to the end of the run and then my knee just never healed. It had been about 2-3 months. So I went for a scan and they scanned it and they said, yep, you need surgery. You need full knee reconstruction. So I had the operation, had to take another year out. And since then, I've realized that I think because I had such a physical and intense dance background and training, when I started doing magic, I just viewed it as, well, this isn't as demanding on my body. So I just didn't warm up. I exercised, but not really as much as I should. And now, since that operation and since that injury, I've realized how important it is. Just even, when you're just jumping off something, it seems so simple, but if you don't warm up and you don't look after your body, it can be quite detrimental. So absolutely, I'm in the gym almost every day now, and I hate it. I'm waiting for that moment. People say, oh, you'll go and you'll get to a point where you'll really crave it. Like you'll have to go because you love it so much. And I'm like, it's been 4 years and I still hate going. Like, when is it coming? When is the love of the gym coming?
That is hilarious. I actually can't believe that you put gaffer tape around your ACL.
It works.
That is amazing.
It works.
Okay, just a side note, this is not official medical advice. Please see your medical practitioner. Have you faced any resistance as a woman who's gone to the top of her field within magic? Has it been an easy journey? Like, what's that been like?
I've had so much support. I really, really have. I think because I worked in the magic industry a little bit before I actually started performing magic on my own, I'd made a lot of friends. I had a lot of really nice connections with people. So when I started performing magic on my own, they almost kind of took me under their wing, which has been really, really nice. I think the resistance is, if anything, has come from myself. I think it's been a little bit of a not a struggle, but a lot of questioning, I think, along the way. When not many other people are doing what you're doing, I think it's hard to not have those thoughts of, is this right? Like, can I do this? Am I allowed to do that? But now as I've been doing it throughout the years, especially the past 3 years, I think I've really grown into myself and I feel way more confident in what I'm doing and the product that I'm offering, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what are those moments where you're like when do you question yourself? Is it like when it's a brand new, opportunity act? Like how does that show up?
When I'm trying to put new material into the show, it can sometimes be really, really terrifying. And that's something that you don't learn, I don't think, as a magician. I think a lot of people assume that you buy a trick, you practice the trick, and then you put the trick in the show. Now, I think that is the trick itself is very, very different to the performance and the act and what is a story that you're trying to tell. And that doesn't always come that naturally to people. And I've realized that that takes practice. I used to think, oh, I'm really bad at that. I need to get someone to help me to write an act or to come up with some ideas that might be able to go with this trick. And the more I did that, the more I realized that actually I'd be on stage and I'd feel quite uncomfortable because they weren't my words. They weren't me. It was almost like someone else had written it and then I was just trying to act out what they thought I should be doing on stage. Whereas the past few years, I've realized that it's so important to put yourself out there. Like it has to come from you. For an audience to truly believe it, it has to come from you and it has to mean something to you. I've completely forgotten what the question was. Remind me, because I was going somewhere with it.
It was what are the moments when you question yourself?
Yes, those are the moments. So at the beginning, I think when you're
you're actually hilarious. That was the funniest thing ever. You like answering and then you're like, I forgot, and you're like, yeah, that reminded me that was the right answer. You are
yeah. That's where I was going. Is that and those are the moments I think when you put yourself out there and it's come from you. And I always ask for advice from other people. I'll never just write something and do an act and be like, let's see what happens. I'll send it to like 5 people and be like, help me with this. Where could you improve this? But that's always really scary. And I think that is where you question yourself. Well, where I question myself the most, that I put it out and I'm like, oh, is this even good? Sometimes it's awful. And that's also another thing that I've learned, that you have to, pardon my French, but you have to be shit to sometimes be good. You have to go through that awful feeling of this is so ugly and I feel so ugly on stage and this just feels like yuck, but you have to keep going to get it to a better place.
100%. I used to be a comedian and the greatest lessons I've had in my entire career all came from bomb, disaster, horrendous experience. Like you just get the best lessons.
Yeah. It's awful though. It's absolutely horrendous in those moments.
So speaking of those moments, what would you say the biggest flop or biggest flops are that you've had on stage? Because the bigger the show, the more props you've got, the more that can go wrong.
That's interesting. I don't want to jinx myself. I've never had any like major flops. I've become very good at finding a way out of things. Things haven't always like gone to plan as such, but I've always managed to survive. Survival is quite different though to excelling. But I'm trying to think. I think the biggest flop was my knee when I physically couldn't carry on. That was probably the hardest. There's a couple of things that maybe like give magic things away, which I wouldn't want to. But yeah, I'd say I've become quite good at surviving. And I think that's the other thing as a magician that you really need to figure out is what are your plan Bs, because things will always go wrong and you always need to get out.
Yeah. You need to escape. Yes, that's what I heard there. Yeah. You need to get out.
Yes. Yes.
So, what about something that's gone pear-shaped? Or has everything just been seamless and amazing?
No, absolutely not. Definitely not. I've had quick changes that haven't quite quick changed. I've had.
Did they half change?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, did the quick change half?
Which is worse than just not half changing it at all.
So then how does Josephine, the performer, handle those moments? What do you do?
I always try and make a joke out of it. I think if you can try and get people on your side and see that you're human, then I think that really, really helps, it happens, bit of a giveaway. At least you came for that, just something that makes them feel like you're not embarrassed, that you're more, just giving them an extra laugh.
Yeah.
I hate this because now I can't think of anything. I'm worried that next week something will go wrong and then you'll
No,
be
no,
like,
no. Just to make sure that the universe doesn't do that.
dear
This
universe, please
we're
don't do
not we're
that.
not record. Dear universe, we're not recording a podcast next week. So just keep
We don't
everything
need
happy
it.
and sunny and beautiful
That
and
would be
joyful.
great.
Have you ever been mid illusion and you've just literally said to yourself, "I don't know if I can pull this off"?
Yeah, and that's actually really taught me the power of the mind, that I can sometimes be partway through an act and it doesn't happen often, but my brain can kind of go somewhere else. And as soon as it's gone somewhere else, I start thinking, oh God, like, how do I get, is this going to work? And as soon as you start doubting yourself, something will go wrong. And I've realized that over the past few years, that if I question myself, or if I see it go wrong on stage, then it will most likely happen. Or if I think, oh, I'm going to jumble my lines up, and then I get out there and I jumble up the lines. So it is so important, I think, that you visualize. And that's something that I've tried to do recently, is to visualize everything going well. And then often it will. And I've learned that from quite a few other artists. When I did BGT, the guy who won was a guy called Tokyo Myers, who was a musician. And he was such a nice guy. And before the performance, he sat outside, and the venue was absolutely packed. There were people running around, kids everywhere. And he was about to go on stage, and he was just sat there with his eyes closed, just totally still. And he was meditating. And he said to me afterwards, like, I visualized the entire performance and I visualized myself winning, and he won. And I was like, it's so powerful. If you can see it, I mean, you create what you put out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't think about going wrong, because then it will go wrong.
So how much time do you spend visualizing?
I spend a lot of time visualizing. I'm one of these like manifestation geeks everyone laughs at.
Oh, good. Amazing.
I've got like,
amazing.
I create a board every year at the beginning of the year, and it normally takes about 2 years for like these, to manifest these things into my life. But I've done it. I started doing it probably about 8 or 9 years ago now, and it's something that I've kept up every year. So every year, and I used to just do them by myself, and then I got married. Now I have 2. I've got one for work and then one for like private life, and
yeah,
love it.
And what percentage of the stuff that you said you've got like a 2-year, come to fruition period, do you just go, oh my God, that's happened, that's happened, that's happened?
There's been a lot of that. There definitely has been a lot of that. And I've also seen a pattern, like it's this 2-year thing. It's really weird, because like sometimes people do them and then a couple of months later they're like, oh, I've not won the lottery. And you think, well, that might be a bit of a big, that achievement might be a little bit too far away to reach, but it does take time. But we have this board, and I put it up in the office at home, and every day when I'm working, it's just there, and you're just watching it. And by the end of, a couple of months, you don't even really realize it's there, but subconsciously you're constantly seeing it when you walk in and out of the room and stuff. They're incredible. I don't know. I saw a really good friend of mine, Morton, who just won FISM. Yeah, I saw the other day he posted, and it was a notepad, and he said, in 3 years' time, I'm going to do a card trick for FISM. And I was like, cool. He's going to win again. I already know he's going to win. Like, he's won 2 years in the past 2 FISMs, and he's going to win again, because like he's just set himself a goal. He's written it down, and he's like, this is what I'm going to do, and he's going to do it. I already know he will.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's awesome. So when you were a magic assistant for all those years, what fundamental tools, lessons, insights did you learn that have made you an amazing performer?
I actually think that it wasn't necessarily just being the assistant. I think it was who I learned from, which was Hans. And he is an incredible human being. Like, he literally lives and breathes for magic and for being on stage. Like, it's just his life. And we always joke that like when he goes, he'll go on stage because it's just, he's made for it. And that passion for wanting to be the best that you absolutely can, and to give an audience like the best evening, I think really rubbed off on me without realizing, like the work ethic side of things, that it can't just be okay. Like, it needs to be amazing. And I think that's what I really learned from him. That's really helped propel my career as well.
Yeah. That is missing, just the concept of, buy a magic trick, get instructions, do it. There is a whole chunk of lived performance that is missing.
Yeah. I mean, that is technically what it is. Like, if you wanted to go watch just tricks, you can go on Instagram and TikTok, and nowadays half the people will tell you how they're done anyway. Like, unfortunately, that is what it's come to, and it's so incredibly sad for the industry, but we're there, and there's nothing that any of us can do about it. So there's no point in my eyes of just creating a show that's full of tricks, because they all know, like, really, they probably all know how they're done anyway, and that's so sad, but it's so true. But if you can take people on a journey, that's a very, very different thing. And if you can use magic as an art form to take them on that journey, that, I think, is what we are all, or should be, trying to achieve.
And do you see the performance and live aspect of magic moving in that direction? Like, less focused on effects and more on storytelling, emotion, theatrical elements?
Yeah, I think it has to. Like, I think it really has to, because the internet is going to take us all down otherwise. Like, it really is. Like, it's so sad, but I go on the internet. My mum sends me these, like, TikTok or Instagram videos, and she's like, oh, have you seen this magic trick? Maybe you should put that in the show. And I'm like, yeah, but you've also just sent me a video of how it's done. So what's the point?
I love that your mum's scouting Instagram or TikTok to give you effects for your show. That's awesome.
She's so brilliant. I love my mum. She's an absolute legend. But yeah, unfortunately, like, we are living in a world now where if someone wants to know how something is done, they just go on the internet and they see how it's done. So we can't rely purely on the tricks anymore. It's just not possible, because it will kill our industry.
Yeah. So when someone's seated in your show, what experience do you give them? What's the dream for you? How do you want them to feel? How do you want them to leave? What shifts?
For me, it's so important that people feel leaving like they've learned something. I read a really good book recently, which is Talk Like TED, the TED Talks.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not a TED talker. I'm not a public speaker as such. But I learned so much from that book that, whenever you're on stage, you want to either have people leaving feeling like they've learned something new, something interesting, or they've been touched or they've been inspired by something. And for me, that's really important.
That's awesome. Amazing. Now, perception, attention, psychology. There's a lot of ingredients that bring illusions to life and actually help make them work. What have you learned about human behavior or human nature through performing illusions?
I've learned that sometimes not everything will resonate with everyone. And that's something that I think, as a performer or as an artist, we need to try and understand very early on to protect yourself. Because, I mean, I've got a part in the show where I talk about a poem called The Dash. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's by Linda Ellis. It's a really, really beautiful poem about how the dash represents our life. So you've got the time at the beginning of your life and then the date at the end, but it's actually that moment in between. And out of absolutely everything in the show, that is the one thing that a lot of people will send messages afterwards, and they'll say, I was so touched by that. Could you please share the poem with me? They're not interested in, like, the magic for that act is a thread, the torn and restored thread. I mean, it's such a simple trick. It's nothing huge. Yeah. But for some people, that will resonate so deeply because maybe they've just lost someone in their lives. Maybe they're terminally ill. You just don't know what's going on in people's lives. But then for someone else, maybe it means nothing. Maybe it's a 15-year-old kid who's just like, oh, hurry up, like, do something funny. It's just you've got so many people in the audience that not everything you do will always resonate with everyone. Like, you're not always going to be everyone's cup of tea.
When did you learn that? Because that mindset gives you freedom.
I think working on a cruise ship over the past few years, and there's so many different performers we're, every night it's a rotation. Like one night it's an opera singer, another night it's a comedian, then you've got musicians, there's a whole variety of different performers. So we watch the shows. I like try and go as often as I can, because I love to learn from other people. Like what I can learn from an opera singer, I might not be able to learn the skill. It's way too late in my life and I can't sing anyway. But I could maybe learn from him how he interacts with the audience in a certain point, or how he takes them on this journey. So we try and watch all the shows as much as we can. And I can watch an opera singer and I can say, oh my God, he was absolutely phenomenal. Blown away, and I'll be in tears. But the guy next to me would just be on his phone, and he'll probably walk out halfway through and he's like, well, it's just not my thing. And that has happened. And I've just been absolutely gobsmacked that, like, okay, fine, maybe you don't appreciate, or maybe you don't understand the skill set that this guy has taken like his entire life to learn how to sing like this. And maybe it isn't your cup of tea, but how can you not appreciate that this is just insane talent, like next level talent? But some people just don't get it. Like they just don't resonate on that level. Seeing that whilst working on a cruise ship, how some people really enjoy one thing and then they just don't appreciate others, has really made me realize that.
Yeah. I also think that being on a cruise ship, because the entertainment is included, it's not like you're paying for an individual show that you're going to and choosing. So there's this mindset of, well, is this going to be good or not? And if it's not, I don't really care, which I think makes it much more challenging for whoever's performing, because there's higher highs and lower lows.
It is the best place to learn and to grow as an artist, because as you said, people haven't paid for a ticket. So if you don't captivate them, if you don't capture, or engage them within the first 5 minutes, they'll just walk out. And I've seen so many artists get so upset about it. And I'm like, but they haven't paid for a ticket. Like, they're not here to actually watch you. They're here to get drunk, to have a great time, to go sunbathe. And you are an added bonus. That is it. Like, unfortunately, that is the reality of it. Like, they haven't paid for a ticket. But if you can keep them in there, and if you can fill out an audience, then you know that you have the ability to, to do very well elsewhere. But I think it's a great place to learn, an incredible place to come and learn.
Yeah.
The bookers are going to be like, this isn't a learning place. What are you doing? So maybe we should cut that out.
Do you want me to?
No, I'm joking.
Okay. What else do you love about cruise ships? Because for anyone that hasn't done a cruise ship, hasn't stepped on a cruise ship, how would you explain and, describe the experience?
It's so hard because there's so many different cruise ships, and I could say like come and sign up, but if they put you on a really bad cruise line and you've got a really bad cabin and the clientele isn't really like theatre orientated, you're gonna have a terrible time. So I'm really not here to say like sign up for cruises. I've got really, really lucky. Like, we're working for a great company who have an incredible theatre that we've been allowed to utilize as much as we possibly can. So I think the experience is different for everyone. It's very different for everyone. But yeah, I've been incredibly lucky to luck out with these contracts and work for a really nice company.
And have you been on a cruise where there's been another performer that's just had a terrible time while you've just been loving it?
Yeah, that happens a lot. That really does happen a lot. And as I said, it goes back again to you don't always resonate with everyone. It's also a cultural thing. In America, the audiences are phenomenal. Like, they're so enthusiastic, and they're standing up before you've even finished, and it's a real joy to like perform to these people. And then in Europe, I mean, like, British audiences, they're awful. They love the show, and afterwards they'll email you and they'll say that was the most exceptional show I've ever seen. You really touched me. It was phenomenal. And then you're just like, yeah, but like, why didn't your face like react much when we were doing the show? And it's just because as a culture, we're way more conservative. We're not like the Americans where they're like, oh my God. And it's very much
Rara.
like the American audiences, they're excited from the minute they sit down. It's like they sit there and they're like, I can't wait to be entertained. Whereas European audiences are very much, they sit down and it's like, okay, prove it. And that's just how it is. Like that's how the cultural differences are. And for some people, that's really hard to deal with.
Yeah. How much time in a day do you spend daydreaming about illusions?
Not so much illusions, but a lot about just creating new material.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. I've got quite a lot going on at the moment where I'm focusing on not just magic, but producing other shows. And
Oh, wow.
at the moment, there's a lot going on, which is really, really nice. And it's so nice. Like there's a team of us and we're just trying to throw all the ideas in. So yeah, morning till night at the moment, which is really nice.
Wow. What do you do to switch off?
Uh, not much. I've started reading again. I love reading, and I've always found reading such a getaway. I love reading fiction, and I stopped reading for so long. In the past year, I set myself a goal of I was going to read one book every month, and I've already surpassed that. So I really enjoy reading.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And what influences you, like on a day-to-day basis? What inspires you, and then how do you connect the dots between that and something new that you're going to create?
So as I said, I love music. I listen to a lot of music, and sometimes I'll listen to a piece and I already know that I want to put that into the show, but I just don't know what it is yet. So that'll go like on, the corner of my laptop in a little tab, and I'm like, that needs to go in, but no idea where yet. Reading, I've just read a book, an incredible book that I highly recommend. It's called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And the concept of it is about living parallel lives. How if you'd made a different decision in your life, how would your life have looked? And I already know that I want to do something with that. That has to be an act, but I have no idea how to do it yet. And maybe it might take me 6 months, maybe it might take me a year, but at some point I know that is going to be something.
Maybe it might take you 2 years.
2 years, it's going on the mood board.
You must be very patient to wait for a 2-year cycle for things to manifest. That's patience on your end, and commitment and belief.
And as I've got older, I've become less patient, because I feel like as you get older, you don't feel like you're running out of time as such. Everything feels like it happens a lot faster. Yeah, you kind of start to, it's not about panicking, but you just think like life's going so fast, and if I have to wait 2 years for that, like I'm already going to be this age, and then I'm going to be that age, and then you're like, slow down. I'm enjoying myself. It's going too quick.
Yeah. Okay, so we got books, music, anything else?
Books,
as
music,
the source
dance.
of your...
Yeah, I love watching dance. I mean, I still watch all the big dance competitions. My body physically wouldn't be able to achieve any of those things anymore, but I fully appreciate, all the choreography and the dynamic, powerful, like raw emotion through dance. And I find that helps.
What are 3 of the biggest mistakes you've made through your career, and what did you learn?
That's a challenging question. I think the first one would be, I've realized that people will always project their limitations on you. And for a long time, I accepted those other people's limitations as my own. When you realize that they're not, that's when things start to flow. So I think I would have preferred to have done that sooner. I think I used to think, oh God, well, yeah, I can't do that. Of course I couldn't do that. But only because someone else had said, well, maybe that was, that's going to be challenging. Are you sure you want to put yourself through that? So I think that's definitely one of them. Another one would be...
Good lesson. Brilliant lesson.
Should we leave it at that then? Can that tick all 3 boxes? Let me think. I'm trying to think of any other ones.
You're an opportunist and an illusionist.
Yeah, I am. I can't think of any. Let me have a little think. I just wish that I'd believed in myself a bit earlier on. And I think that does take time. Like especially when you step into an industry like this, where you've got people who have been doing it since they were 5 years old. And then, I rocked up and I was like, oh, I'm going to see if I can give this a go. And yes, I'd worked in the magic industry, but I'd never specifically sold myself as a magician. And then even at the beginning, I was really only doing illusions. And then I realized that I needed to start speaking on stage to be able to actually have a show and not just be an act. So all of those milestones have happened within the past 10 years. And I just wish that I'd believed in myself a little bit earlier on. So that is really something that I would offer. That's the advice that I would offer to other people, that the people who are really, really doing it and excelling in this industry are the people who really believe in themselves.
Yeah. Believe in themselves when there's noise coming at them. That is contrary to their inner voice.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's always going to be there. Everyone's always going to think, my God, like, can I really do that? Those are just natural thoughts that we all have. And I have them on a daily basis. I've just learned to live with them.
That's awesome. 2 very good lessons. I won't push you for a third one.
Thank you, because I struggle.
So is there anything beyond the suitcases and the contracts that you mentioned? Is there anything that we would be, surprised to discover about the touring life when you are performing big scale illusions?
I've already pretty much covered that. Just the logistics of it, really. It's the logistics of the illusions that I think not many people realize. And I think when you live in America, I think it's a lot easier. I think it's much, much easier if you live in the States, because there's so much opportunity for work in America and you're on the same massive land. So, you can pop it in a truck. I mean, I love that about America. Like, I live 2 hours away from London, and I think to myself, oh, it's a really, really long trip. And everyone's like, oh, no, you live in London. I'm like, no, I don't. Yeah. But for an American, 8-9 hours is nothing. So they'll, travel in a truck with all their illusions. When you live in Europe, especially now, well, not even necessarily Europe, but specifically Britain, since for some silly reason we had Brexit, we now have much more challenging logistics to get the illusions out of the country. So we're already, even just to ship them across the country, we're already looking at, thousands just for the paperwork to get it out of the country. So that has become so challenging. Yeah. And I really wish that I was American. I really do wish I was American, because I think there's so much more opportunity out there with illusions.
Have you ever considered going for good?
It has crossed my mind, and the past few years it has crossed my mind a little bit more. I don't think I could ever live there. I think I would love to work there, and I would love to go over for a couple of months or for a year, but my heart is definitely in Europe. I love Europe. I love the people. My family are here. And, as you get older as well, you see your family are getting a little bit older, and just not yet. Not yet, no.
Yeah. Have you had a particular performance that's just changed the trajectory of your career or your life? Like, do you look back and go, oh, that one was massively significant because?
BGT for me, when I did Britain's Got Talent, that pretty much just that one performance changed my entire life. And I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous. And it sounds like one of those sob stories, oh my God, it changed my life. Thank you so much.
Like the continued filming, like the filming after. It's like the offstage. It's like,
and even when you're on it, they're like, oh, do you want to call your parents while you're here? And I'm like, absolutely not. No, I don't. But thanks for having me. But that actually, in hindsight, looking back now, I think if I hadn't done that show, I would not be doing this. And when I did the show, I had 3 minutes. That was literally all I had. I had a 3-minute act. And after the show, I had loads of bookings come through. We'd love to have your full 2-hour show. Can we get you over to Macau? And I was like, wow, I have 3 minutes. What can we do with 3 minutes? And that was a massive game changer for me. In hindsight, looking back now, I wasn't ready for it. If I had a 2-hour show like I had now, then things would have happened much, much quicker for me. But Yeah, if I hadn't done that show, I would not be doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, wow. Did you know before you were about to step on stage, this is going to change everything?
So my act had never worked. I took a huge whim and the act had never ever worked once. There was always at some point in the act something had gone completely wrong and it had failed. So no, I absolutely did not. But what I had a really amazing, well, I still have, there's still incredible friends of mine and best friends of mine, and they had worked on the act with me. And they had said, at this point, no one knows who you are. Like, no one knows who Josephine Lee is. So if you go out there and you fail, it doesn't matter because you just go home and you have a cup of tea and we'll pop open a bottle of wine. But if it does go right, then maybe like something might come of it. And I think because I had them round me, it was almost just like, do you know what, sod it, we'll just do it and see what happens. And for the first time ever, it worked. And the really funny thing is that I got booked for loads of TV shows afterwards. And it had just, unfortunately, like whatever happened in that one moment on Britain's Got Talent just never really seemed to happen again for a long time. So we had so many problems with the act. I can confirm now it works. But it's like that when you do something new. And now I would never be naive enough to think, oh, I'm going to create something new and go on America's Got Talent and just see what happens. Now I'd never do that. But at the
Wow.
time,
Oh, so was that legit? Was that the first time you'd actually done that act?
yeah, yeah.
Whoa. And
Legitimately,
so
like
many
that was,
moving pieces.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And it was just like the universe had decided to like give me a break for 3 minutes. Yeah.
That is crazy.
I don't recommend it to anyone though.
I love it. In this, we've had health advice, we've had life advice, we've had so much advice for our listeners in this in this episode. That's awesome. All right, so we have a beautiful tradition on this pod. 3 closing questions. Number 1, you go to a desert island and you're only allowed to take 3 items. What are they?
Coffee.
Good
Ooh.
answer.
Espresso martinis, which kind of counts as 1.5 because you need the caffeine for it. And what else? My husband.
Oh,
I love that he came third on the list.
that's exactly what I was thinking.
But he's in
And like
there.
you have to look out the window and then he dropped in. That's actually
yeah.
hysterical. Yeah.
He made the list though. That's okay.
What keeps you up at night in the best way possible?
Oh, that's hard. A lot. I'm a real overthinker. At the moment, the state of the world, I don't want to be one of those people who, brings politics into it. But yeah, it's really concerning. And at the moment, there's a lot of brain power that goes on what on earth is happening in the world right now. It's quite terrifying. But we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And in a good way, what keeps you up?
In a good way, what keeps me up? I think show material. A lot of the time it's just constantly there. And I used to worry that it just consumed too much of my brain power and my time and that I wouldn't have like a private life anymore because it was just always work. But over the past few years, I've realized that it's actually a really exciting thing. And now I'm working with some of the closest people in my life who are kind of like jumping on board to create like new shows and new material and this other project that we're working on. It's a really exciting time. And I've kind of turned that feeling of, oh, I need to just like take a breather to this is really cool and we're creating really exciting stuff.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Third question, but then I do have some extras. If your younger self could watch you today, what do you think would surprise her?
That she's speaking on stage because like I think even not that long ago, the idea of speaking on stage really terrified me because I'd always just been the silent magician's assistant. And then I started doing magic and then I was like, okay, I'm doing the illusions and I felt very, very comfortable in myself. I was like, I can do this. I know this. I understand it. But then to actually start speaking on stage, that was a real whole new challenge for me. And now you can't shut me up. So I don't think I'd ever expected that.
Did that happen like overnight or was it a gradual, like, how you said you haven't fallen in love with gym yet?
Yeah, no, now.
Is there any like kind of, do you think like, oh, the way that it happened on stage with speaking might happen in the gym?
The gym, I think, is a lost cause. But I do think that it's definitely, I sometimes get offered to do corporate events, and they say, we just want 10 minutes, no talking, just blow us away, just go out with the illusions. And I always feel now, I think to myself, oh, but they're not really going to know who I am, though. Like, I'm not really going to be able to connect with them if I'm not speaking. So I would feel, I'd feel like I'd be missing a part of my show now if I wasn't speaking and communicating and connecting with an audience. Yeah.
I always do this. I'm like, 3 closing questions. And then I'm like, no, I have more. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Someone once said to me, in fact, you'll probably know him, as his name's David Britland. Incredible guy. He works a lot for Luis de Matos. He writes a lot of his material. He's an incredible human being. And I did a show with Luis, his TV show, years ago. And it's so ridiculous. I look back now and I'm like, I don't know why I got so worked up. But my shoe fell off during the performance. And the dancers put me into the bow staff illusion. And as I got in, my shoe came off. That was it. I got so upset about the fact that it was live TV, and I was just devastated that it hadn't gone as perfectly as I'd wanted it to. And he could see that I was quite hard on myself. And he said to me afterwards, look, you don't need to be the best. You just need to be working. And at the time, I was like, no, I need to be the best. You know, that mentality and that's a real dancer's mentality that, you know, in the dancing industry, there are thousands, no, millions of incredible dancers who are just absolutely outstanding. And if you are not one of the best, you will not work. Like, you won't even get a look in. So that mentality I took to magic, which is probably a good thing, but I was so hard on myself that I actually think it stopped my progression for a very long time, because I'd given myself such a big goal of, you have to fulfill these boots, that it almost stopped me, because I was like, it's too much to deal with, or too much to try and achieve. And when David said that to me, I was like, actually, yeah, no, he's right. Like, I don't have to be the best. I just have to be working. If I'm working, that's an amazing achievement in itself.
Yeah, very good antidote as well to perfectionism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good way to look at it. Yeah. So when you had that transition from BGT to bookings, did you have to adjust anything internally in order to acclimatize to, whoa, there's a whole new world going on around me?
Yeah, I kind of floated between what I was doing before. I was still dancing. I was teaching yoga as well. I was a yoga instructor. And then on the side, the magic was actually just like a side hustle for a very, very long time. And then it got to a point where my yoga classes weren't as good as they normally were, because I wasn't spending hours writing class plans and, you know, trying to focus all my energy on that. And then all those other things that were what I normally did in my life started to kind of not be as good. And that's when I realized, as the work came in for the magic, I was like, actually, maybe I could just do this. Like, the work's there, the demand's there, and then I kind of switched over.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Now, to wrap us up, do you believe in magic?
I mean, I believe and I definitely believe in a greater force. Do I believe in magic as such? I believe in the idea of magic, definitely, for sure. I believe that there's definitely like magical moments in our life. There's magical things that can happen to us. So yeah, as a metaphor, I think magic really shows us that what we see isn't actually always there. And I think that's a really beautiful way to look at life in general. So do I believe in magic? Yeah, for sure I do.
Awesome way to wrap up. Thank you so much. Thank you for like legit your health advice. No one, please, to anyone listening or watching, don't just leave the gaffer tape at home. If you have an injury, please see an actual health professional. This has been amazing. I absolutely love that you're just pioneering and you're absolutely brilliant and you're just doing what you're doing and you're getting better and better. And yeah, you've really set the tone and you're an inspiration for so many. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Amazing.